Welcome back to the shop. But before we get started here today, I really want to say a big thanks to all our most recent subscribers. Picked up a whole bunch here in the last little while. I really appreciate the support. So we got this rusty old beast pulled back over here. First time it's been moved in about a year. We're finally going to get cracking on that core support for obvious reasons. And I got the driver's side fender all finished up there. Just got a couple little pinholes I got to go and touch up, but pretty happy with how that turned out. Also got to finish up my plug welds there. I haven't gotten around to that yet. I also popped by my local Rondex a couple days ago. Picked up some high build primer filler. Shoot some of that on. And then I took this piece that I cut out. They told me they only needed kind of a 1 inch or 2 inch square, relatively flat to be able to color match. Holly green number 2. This will be the factory acrylic. And if you look right here, I'd say it's a pretty darn good match. Only took her about 10 minutes. I was quite impressed. I was expecting to drop it off and have to either go back later that day or come back a few days later, but did it right while I waited, and excited to see how this looks. I was also making a hell of a racket when I moved it over. Real loud squealing noise. It's tough to tell where it's coming from with the open headers. They kind of drown everything out. Sounded like it was coming from bell housing area, which had me concerned. We did just swap the starter out. Everything looks good there. I popped the inspection cover. There's enough clearance on the gear. I'm a bit worried about flex plate or torque converter. Only seems to do it in reverse, which is odd. Nothing seems to be shifting. I checked the headers. There's nothing touching anywhere. I did go ahead and swap the belts out on this though. But it sounded a lot more like pump squeal. And those of you who've been following for a while remember this thing ran dry a few times. The old Bendix steering box was shot. So I left the belt off. Gonna go ahead and fire it up and see if it still sounds like that. Now I don't have high hopes for this. In fact, I've got no hope at all. It doesn't make sense that it would be the belt drive, seeing as it only does this in reverse. If it did it all the time, I'd suspect maybe a pump, but like I said, definitely sounds more like it's coming from the bell housing area. And I think you know what that means, but the belts that were on there were dry rotted and pretty old anyway, so they need to be swapped, so it didn't take nothing to leave the one off and rule that out as an option. But let's give it a whirl, see what happens. Plug your ear holes. Shrieking. Let's see what happens when we put her in reverse. Oh, he's still doing it. Yeah, that can't be good. Well, that answers that question. So we'll put our thinking caps on and think a bit more about that while we go ahead and tackle this core support. Let's get after it. Alright, so as I said, the nuts came off no problem. This rubber and the sleeve in there is seized right on there, so I think we're just gonna hit it with a recip saw. An old El Diablo there should do the trick. How many more hits do you think? 5? 5? You were right. Well, that was easy.
What? This tool, Daddy?
That might actually work, yeah. That was our problem. Huh? Well, it's off. That was quite the ordeal. The original bushings there were pretty stuck in there. So that's the top side there. The bottom I tried cutting through, wasn't having much luck. The one side I did manage to get most of the way through and then it broke off. This one here fought me a bit. So what I found worked best was I cut the metal washer on the bottom, just split it this way, knock that piece out, and then I was able to bend this up enough to pop it through the frame. And one other thing I did here before I pulled the core support was I just took some scrap angle that I had kicking around, clamped it to the frame here, and cut another short piece, tacked it on the back side there, and then I just ran a 3/8 bolt through the stock hole in the radiator there. Helps keep it supported. I've heard people say it'll just hang there, but with the transcooler lines and these soft hoses, that's really not the best idea. So that's the old one out. And if it wasn't so hot outside, I probably would have taken the torch and just burned those out of there. So I'm gonna get all these bits here transferred over to the new one, which this looks pretty nice actually. It looks pretty well identical. I've got all our holes and everything there, so pretty happy with that. Hopefully it fits okay. This is aftermarket, so it's always a gamble. I'm just working on getting all the pieces ready right now. All that stuff we took off last winter there, just prepping it to get all the rust cleaned up. Give it a quick spray with some semi-gloss black, and we'll start bolting this back in. We also had a few bits soaking in the evaporust here. They came out pretty good. These were completely caked in heavy scale rust, and I'm actually quite impressed with how well these turned out. Got some of the hardware soaking right now. Just left it in the bags that we had it in. That way it keeps everything organized. Hopefully the evaporust doesn't take off the Sharpie there, but it doesn't seem to be affecting it. Stuff works great. If you've never used it before, I've heard guys say that it doesn't work worth a damn. But you gotta use it in warm weather, or at least bring it in the house where it's warm. If you try and use it in a cold shop, it'll take weeks. And if you want to know what that squealing sound was, keep an eye out for the next video. I'll be posting that here shortly, and I'll show you what we discovered there. And if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so. And that way, you won't miss any future videos. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.